Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson. We're in episode 2 in our series on aggressive peaking. Let's switch gears a little bit from just having to be aggressively lean and taking that kind of a track through peak week into needing that fullness. Since you and I, for most clients or a lot of our clients, use a progressive linear load, there is still a question as to where is that target at the end of the week, and are we on pace to hit it with some incremental increases? And once again, the question of how aggressive can we get comes into play. And I had an IFBB Pro male client recently with, even with a lot of muscle, and this guy has some size to compete at that IFBB level. He's got a pretty fast metabolism, and I'm always we're always together as a client and coach on that cusp of thinking, man, if we go too low, if our increases aren't high enough through the week, we could wake up 3 or 4 pounds down and be almost irreparably flat. So even when you're trying to use a what I would call a moderate and manageable progressive linear load, Adam, how do you gauge if you're pushing far enough to get everything you can in that sense of aggressiveness?
Yeah, you really have to watch those people closely when they're more, more of an ectomorph. But when you're doing a progressive linear load, the whole purpose of that is to kind of have some time stamps on fullness throughout the peak. So it's almost like just like shading in or tracing a picture with less layers on it. So you're really able to kind of test your way up. And I know I've said this before, but when you do a progressive linear load with somebody, you don't necessarily have to stick to it or be married to it being a progressive linear load. And what's great, it sets you up for the week to have some maybe higher adjustments, or maybe, ooh, that was a little too high, let's pull back tomorrow. And your changes are going to be less extreme typically that way, as long as your layout on the peak is pretty point on. So I really like that as a format where if I'm seeing some really good fullness on Wednesday or Thursday and I feel like they're looking really good, I might just kind of taper loading any higher and just say, we're just going to stay at this high level of food. But like you said, if you go up and you start seeing their weight dropping, well, you might be turning it more into a backload, but that's not more the important part. The more important part is managing your client in to look perfect.
Yeah, in both of our episodes in and of themselves that we'll talk about in this series, the rapid backload and managing that process. You again nailed it perfectly, describing that you're watching that daily symptom set, how they're looking, what their weight's doing. You're trying to discern what's happening in terms of glycogen content in the muscle tissue. And there is that question, like you said, if you start seeing them get a little bit full and you can back off a little bit, then I always question. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, was that almost going too far too soon, and now I'm creating some variable instability, or should I maybe have declined that load in those midweek days so we can really increase again at the end? Because I still consider that 24 to 48 hour mark prior to the stage your last real shot at synthesizing glycogen, inside the muscle tissue. And so that's where you really want to make sure you got that base set. So, maybe just one more time, Adam, how would you know, and maybe what body types are typical for needing to still be a little bit modest going into that last 24 to 40 hour time frame? And when do you just push it hard?
Yeah, your ectomorphs, you're going to have to probably push hard and err on the side of caution for them not to be flat. I would say your endo and mesos, you're going to want to be a little bit more careful with. You, I always hate sacrificing tightness for fullness. And it's a really big fail for me if somebody spills over.
And also just the division type, right? I mean, you don't want to, if you got somebody in bikini, men's physique, those kind of places where tightness is the premium, that's when you may not want to push too far.
Right, absolutely.
All right, guys, we will see you next time as we continue in this series in Contest Prep University.